it's Jess from MHYT and welcome to a beautiful winter morning here in Northeast Ohio. Today I want to share a few extra steps I take in my coop to keep my more fluffy chickens safe during the winter time. I talk a lot about the fact that I love my silkies and I've been raising them for over 6 years here in Northeast Ohio in the snow belt. So if you know what the snow belt is, there's a lot of snow and it's really cold. And my silkies have always done amazing. Even though they have those different feathers, they do fantastic. So here are a few steps that I take to keep those silkies nice and happy and healthy. First, I make sure that their coop is set up properly. And I do this for all of my birds, but you want to make sure in your coop that your coop is free from any drafts. And I actually have 2 coops. You don't have to build another coop. But I do have a winter coop that is attached to the barn, and this way I can really ensure that there are no drafts getting to any of my birds. Also, when you're making sure your coop is draft free, you also want to make sure you have good ventilation. So you don't want to completely seal off the coop. You just want to make sure that you can't get any drafts through there. Another thing that I make sure to add in the coop is plenty of places for roosting. So I make sure that my roosting bars are a little bit wider, especially in the winter time, and I add different options. If you've raised silkies and some other bantams before, you know that they may try to roost on the ground. So what I do is I have my roosting bars, but then I also add some different stumps and logs, and I even have a couple tires in there. This way my birds have a lot of different options when it comes to roosting. Another thing that we do is we do add a little extra bedding in the wintertime, and we practice the deep litter method, which I've left a link in the description below on how to do the deep litter method. We started doing it about 3 years ago. It works great in our coop, and our flock loves scraping the bedding and helping out. Another thing that we do, and we do this all the time, is we make sure that our flock has proper nutrition, and in the wintertime I give them some extra high protein treats. So I will give them scrambled eggs, I will give them mealworms and a little bit of scratch, and it just helps to give them a boost when it's super cold outside. Another thing that I do is I keep an eye on the weather. If it's going to be a really rainy, cold day, I typically do not let my silkies out in the middle of the wintertime, only because their feathers are different than my standard size bird. If you look at, say, your Orpington, you'll notice that their feather is more shiny and the water repels easier off of their feathers. On the silky, they have that different feather structure and they can get wet and chilled quickly. So I just keep an eye out when they're going to go out exploring. Another thing that you can do, and this is completely optional, is you can add a heat mat or a heated perch into your coop. We used to use the heat mat, but our silkies stopped using it and they preferred to stay warm with their other flock friends. But you can definitely use one of those, and it's a safe alternative to add an additional heat source into your coop. For our additional heat source, I just added some light Brahmas and some bigger Orpingtons into my coop, and they help to keep the silkies nice and warm. It's so cute to watch them at night, kind of all nestled in between each other, keeping each other nice and warm. Another thing that I do, especially with my rooster silkies, is I keep an eye on their combs and their wattles during the wintertime. And if I know that there's a chance for frostbite, I will add a little bit of coconut oil onto their comb and their wattles. I also want to be sure to check my silkies' legs and feet during the wintertime as well. Some of my silkies have a lot of feathers on their feet, and if they go out and play in the mud and then the mud freezes, it kind of makes a mess on their feathers and it's uncomfortable for them. So I keep an eye that their legs and their feet are nice and clean before they head back in the coop. These are just some simple steps that you can take to keep your extra fluffy chickens nice and warm during the winter time. How do you keep your fluffy chickens warm in the winter? Let us know in the comments below. If you have any questions, be sure to reach out. We are so happy to help. Make sure to check that description below here for a special coupon code to use off your next purchase at MHYT.com. Thank you so much for watching.